What's going on, guys? So we know about the successful teams in F1, but now I think we're going to watch a video that shows unsuccessful teams, or to be more specific, unsuccessful car manufacturers in F1. And the link to this video will be down in the description. Please give them a like and subscribe. And here we go.
The history of the World Championship, Formula One has been dominated by car manufacturers. Whether as engine suppliers partnering with teams or full works operations, it's often the automotive companies who have the resources and the know-how to prevail. But that doesn't...
To be fair, some of these companies, car manufacturing companies, are European, and here in the United States, like Alfa Romeo, the furthest thing from our thoughts to a car manufacturer. Have no idea. I've never seen an Alfa Romeo in my entire life. I'd probably have to Google it to find it. I don't know how common these cars are. That includes Renault. I mean, you see Mercedes around here. You see BMW. They're considered high class, expensive cars. Most you'll see around here is Chevy, Ford, Honda. You see some Nissans. But basically what I'm saying is that a lot of the European manufacturers are not very as popular here in the United States. Volkswagen, there's some Volkswagen here, but they're not super popular. But let's keep going.
Mean that every ambitious manufacturer entry is automatically a success. Over the past 7 decades, there have been plenty of car makers who didn't achieve the victories that they expected. Here are the 10 biggest manufacturer failures in F1 history. Let us know if you agree with our choices, and don't forget to subscribe for more from the race. Fresh from its Le Mans success in 19...
Again, Peugeot. I've heard of it. I don't know anything about Peugeot. Nothing at all.
91 and 92, Peugeot considered entering Formula One as a full works operation before becoming McLaren's engine partner in 1994. Its first season yielded 8 podium finishes, but Anglo-French relations were poor, and the engine was neither powerful enough nor reliable enough for team boss Ron Dennis. This led to the partnership coming to an end after just 1 season, with Peugeot then teaming up with the emerging Jordan team. In 3 years with Jordan, the Peugeot engine improved dramatically and emerged as a threat for race wins in 1997, when it was reckoned to be one of the most powerful engines.
That is a cool looking car. I'm surprised, like, more cars like these days, from what I've seen from the F1 cars, that they don't have like cool designs or graphics or anything. This kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you're familiar with the Thunderbolts. They go by another name. It's a American jet that have the shark face on the front. Now this is a snake, and I love the design, and I love the aesthetics of it, with the scales and the eye, and it looks like it's got fangs down here. That's very cool.
Engines in F1, but commercial and political factors led to it linking up with Alain Prost's team in 1998. The Prost-Peugeot alliance was a disaster.
Politics ruins a lot of things. I mean, I get it that the everybody should have some kind of a national pride, but when it comes to sports, come on, man. That it's a sport. It's supposed to bring you together. It's not supposed to divide.
With just 5 points finishes in 3 seasons, and the only real achievement a fortuitous second place for Jarno Trulli at the Nürburgring in 1999. With the relationship increasingly fractious, Peugeot pulled out of F1 at the end of 2000. Although its engine lived on in F1 after being sold to Asiatech, powering Arrows and then Minardi. Lancia had the ambition.
Again, Lancia, never heard of it. Never seen a car. I don't I don't know anything about European cars other than maybe your most popular BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen. I guess Ferrari and Lamborghini would be considered in those, but those are like extreme high end, where you have to have a whole lot of dough to be able to afford and operate and repair those kind of cars, and that is just not something that 99% of Americans have.
It had the superstar driver in Alberto Ascari, it had the ace designer in Vittorio Jano, and even the car to thrive in Formula One. But it didn't have the money. The Lancia D50 didn't make its debut until the final race of the 1954 season, but it made its mark, with Ascari taking pole position and retiring from the lead with a clutch problem. Ascari then won 2 early season non-championship races in 1955, the Valentino and Naples Grand Prix, and was leading the Monaco Grand Prix when he lost it under braking and pitched himself into the harbour. He survived, but was killed 4 days later testing a Ferrari Sport 750S sports car at Monza.
Well, he's got this field car, this Lancia, that keeps breaking down on him, but that's not what got him. What got him was the Ferrari, and I think it's like a inside thing in F1 about Ferraris not being reliable. As far as I know, they're very good fast cars in F1, but they right now their issue is just kind of leadership issues on making decisions.
The devastating loss of Ascari is often blamed for Lancia quitting F1, but really it was financial problems. The company was sold, there was no more cash for racing, and the design and spares was sold on to Fiat, which passed them on to Ferrari.
I've heard of Fiat, don't know much about them, never seen a Fiat. I might be even saying that wrong. He said Fiat, so I guess that's right how you say it. I would always, if I saw it, it would be like Fiat.
Fangio won the 1956 World Championship in what was now called the Lancia Ferrari D50 for Scuderia Ferrari.
Now Yamaha, I would know that as not as a car or engine manufacturer, but more of a motorcycle, like dirt bikes. Not so much on street bikes, but I guess they make street bikes. But I never knew Yamaha to make cars.
Yamaha is best known for its success in motorcycle racing, but from 1989 to
I think they make speakers as well, speakers and radio equipment.
1997, it tried to crack Formula One as an engine supplier. But in spells with Zaxbyt, Brabham, Jordan, Tyrrell and Arrows, it managed just 2 podium finishes in 116 races.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yamaha's first foray with a struggling Zaxbyt team in 1989 was a disaster, only qualifying twice using an evolution of its Cosworth V8-based F3000 engine. It returned after a year out with a new V12 engine powering Brabham, picking up its first points finish with Mark Blundell 6th in the Belgian Grand Prix. Jordan used the engine, which the race's technical expert Gary Anderson calls a boat anchor, with little success the following year. But things started to look up when Yamaha teamed up with British engine builder John Judd. They created a new V10 based on the Judd that previously raced in F1. But after
I'm looking at all these advertisements on the side of the cars. I know Tyrrell was a car F1 car team. Don't know what Cabin is. Calbee, don't know what that is. BP, I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. There is one resounding thing that people remember about BP in the United States, and that is the oil spill that occurred in the Gulf of Mexico.
A pointless first year with Tyrrell in 1993, Blundell finished 3rd in the Spanish Grand Prix a year later.
That goes with a lot of things, though. You can do a million great things in your life, but you do make one big mistake, and that's all you're going to be remembered for. It's a sad fact, but it is kind of reality, and only really the people that know and love you and are the closest to you know who you are and who you really are. And I'll support you through the times like that, but you make a mistake, and then that's pretty much just set in stone. That's what you're going to be known for.
After 4 seasons with Tyrrell, Yamaha teamed up with Arrows for its ambitious 1997 campaign with Damon Hill, famously coming close to winning the Hungarian Grand Prix before a hydraulics problem dropped it to second. Yamaha quit F1 ahead of the 1998 season after falling out with Arrows. Italian manufacturer Lamborghini's stint in Formula One from 1989 to 1993 yielded just one podium finish, Aguri Suzuki's third place for LaRousse in the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix.
Did I miss the manufacturer on this one? Lamborghini, okay. I did miss it, but yeah, Lamborghini. I feel like personally in my mind that's like a competitor to Ferrari. So Lamborghini and Ferrari are direct competitors in my mind to their cars as super luxury sports cars.
So featured a year fielding a pseudo works team and a dalliance with McLaren, where it gained the approval of Ayrton Senna before sliding quietly out of F1. Chrysler-owned Lamborghini supplied its V12 engine to...
So, our Chrysler, I know Chrysler, I think they were bought out by a German company at some point. Because I kind of remember that. I didn't know that they were, I don't know if they are basically owners or co-owners were with Lamborghini. I don't know anything about that, but it's interesting.
The French LaRousse operation for free in 1989 and 90, adding a second supply for Lotus.
Yeah, it's strange these days to see the cigarette companies on the side of these cars. I don't think that most companies will allow you, at least televised, to have cigarette manufacturers on the side of your cars or even on billboards these days.
In its second year. In the background, it worked on a car to supply to the Mexican-owned Glass team that intended to join F1 in 1991. When the funding for that project vanished, the nascent team moved to Modena with an injection of cash from Lamborghini. The renamed Modena team, headed by legendary former Ferrari engineer Mauro Forghieri, made its debut in 1991 and was often referred to as Lamborghini or Lambo, even though the Italian manufacturer kept its distance. And understandably so, given this pseudo-works team struggled to qualify and never bettered Nicola Laurini's 7th place in the Phoenix season opener. Its supply deal with Ligier that year also yielded little success.
I see this elf symbol on a lot of things. I don't know where that is. I think it was like something in the oil business. Maybe there was gas stations back in the day with elf, but I do see that quite a bit on the older F1 cars.
As the Modena team floundered and eventually closed, Lamborghini focused its efforts on the engine, supplying Minardi in 92, then LaRousse in 93, with a new V12 design. Having tested the McLaren Lamborghini, which was 60 bhp more powerful and lighter than the Ford he was using that year, Senna pushed to run it in the final 3 races of the 93 season. But McLaren signed up with Peugeot for 94 instead, amid doubts about...
I know Senna was one of the greatest drivers in F1, and I think he passed while racing. But I don't know how. I never watched anything that showed me how.
Chrysler's commitment to F1. The Lamborghini engine was never seen again in F1. Despite the success of its engine, Ford didn't have its own team on the F1.
Now I do know about Jaguar. Jaguar is another one of those high-end. I don't really consider it a sports car. Maybe they are sports cars, but they're more of like a luxurious, just like 4-door car that I can think of. Maybe in the same ilk as like Lincoln.
Grid until 2000, taking over the race-winning Stewart operation and rebranding it as Jaguar. The idea was to conquer F1 with the evocative brand as the British Ferrari, but far from achieving the World Championship success thought possible in the first year, it turned out to be a failure. The story of Jaguar in F1 is one of corporate...
I don't mean any disrespect when I talk about the car manufacturers. I know there's a lot of people with feelings about their car manufacturers, but I mean, I'm just telling you from my point of view what I see them as, and I might be dead wrong. I don't know. I'm just some guy watching videos about F1.
Corporate interference, a revolving door management strategy, with Eddie Irvine's third places at Monaco in 2001 and Monza a year later the only high points. In 2003 and 2004, the results did improve, with Mark Webber turning in some eye-catching performances, but Jaguar still never finished higher than 7th in the Constructors' Championship. Budgets were cut as Ford lost interest, and after briefly considering rebranding the team as a Ford,
I think that is very cool. The Jaguar on the side, the way it looks.
with Mark Webber turning in some eye-catching performances, but Jaguar still never finished higher than 7th in the Constructors' Championship. Budgets were cut as Ford lost interest, and after briefly considering rebranding the team as a Ford Works team to justify the spend, it decided to pull out. Just to underline Jaguar's failure, the team was acquired.
And I think that's like a Red Bull symbol there on the front of the car. And I from the earlier video that I saw, I do believe Red Bull bought out the Jaguar team at some point.
By Red Bull ahead of the 2005 season.
There you go.
Went on to emerge as a top team in 2009 and won 4 double world championships from 2010 to 2013. It remains an F1 powerhouse to
It makes you wonder if Jaguar had stayed around, if the same results would have come, or if it just took new management to become a top team.
this day. Alfa Romeo won the first 2 world championships with the pre-war Alfetta in 1950 and 1951 before pulling out of Formula One. It returned as a constructor.
Was that Leclerc? Yeah, that looks like a very young Leclerc right there. I didn't know he was part of the Romeo team. I know him as the Ferrari driver right now.
It returned as a constructor in 1979, building on the F1 engine program.
I think it's consensus that Leclerc's better than Sainz, but I really don't know the answer to that. I think they're pretty much equal in their cars.
By Alfa Romeo's Auto Delta competitions department, headed by Carlo Chitti, the project had grand ambitions, but its 6 years on the grid yielded little success. After a toe in the water in 1979, its first full season was a tragic one, with Patrick Depailler killed in a crash at Hockenheim in 1980. The recruitment of Mario Andretti for 1981 didn't help, although Bruno Giacomelli did take a 3rd place at Las Vegas.
Mario Andretti is one of the few drivers that most Americans do know. It is sad that F1 is popular, it's well known throughout the world and including in the US, but and it seems like it could use some movement into the US. But they're even fighting the fact that the guy, I can't remember what his name is. He's a IndyCar driver, is not being let in because a certain amount of points within. It seems like a lot of gatekeeping from my point of view, and I can understand that to some extent. But in IndyCar and F1 and F2, they're all very similar, and the points they should be transferable over. I mean, there's older F1 drivers that I guess you could say they couldn't hack it in F1. They do drive in Indy, and there's a lot of experience there and a lot of knowledge. And to be able to insert an American influence into F1, I know you have the Haas team, but to have a popular American driver in F1 that's successful, that would drive the sport and lead to a whole lot of money and advertisement.
Relations between Chitti and designer Gérard Ducarouge, who had joined from Ligier for 1981, became strained, despite some promising performances in 82, with Andrea de Cesaris taking pole position at Long Beach, only to lose the lead in the race to Niki Lauda because he was using his hand to gesticulate at a back marker rather than changing gear. With Alfa Romeo's commitment wavering, an injection of Marlboro money for 1983 came with a proviso that the team was restructured, becoming a joint effort between Auto Delta and the Euro racing outfit. Ducarouge rightly or wrongly, was axed after the 1983 French Grand Prix when the car's fire extinguishers were revealed to be running empty to reduce weight, and the struggles just got worse. With Keaty,
Yeah, I don't know. That is bad. The one thing that's in there to save the driver, and not even just that driver. Maybe there's an accident and it catches fire, and the car's sitting on top of another car, and the car catches fire, and there's nothing in the fire extinguishers. That is like I don't know how you would put it, but that would be like a fireable offense to me. Whose ever idea that was, or whoever was responsible for that, would have been out the door. That includes whoever's leading the team.
Marginalised, Alfa Romeo struggled on to the end of 1985 before the plug was pulled after a pointless season. But its engine did live on for another 3 years with a seller for its final season in '88, badged as an.
Now, I've also heard that Benetton was, where Michael Schumacher got his start, was a clothing brand company. I've never heard of Benetton. I don't even know if it's around still. Never heard of it.
Seller engine. When the Aston Martin name joins Formula One in 2020 as the new identity for Racing Point, it will actually be the second time the brand has had cars on the grid. The little remembered Aston Martin Grand Prix project of 1959 and 60.
Aren't those pink cars? I thought they were Alpine. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I'm still a little bit confused on some of the teams. I'll learn. I'll get used to it.
It's forgotten for a very good reason. It achieved nothing. With Aston Martin's primary focus on sports car racing, its DBR4 Grand Prix car first ran in 1957, but didn't make its debut until the non-championship international trophy at Silverstone 2 years later. Roy Salvadori finished second, but that was the sole high point for a car that was already obsolete thanks to the rear-engined revolution. Engine problems blighted its World Championship debut in the 1959 Dutch Grand Prix, but Salvadori finished 6th at the British Grand Prix, then both cars made the finish in Portugal, with Salvadori 6th and Carroll Shelby 8th. Its 4 World Championship outings didn't yield a single point. The evolutionary Aston Martin DBR5 appeared briefly the following year, but the project was cancelled.
Yeah, I don't know, because these are street racing cars. I mean, over here you have like drag racers, and it makes sense to put the engine in the back of the car for the weight for the back tires, which are going to drive the car. And then you put the engine in the front of the car to weigh down the tires so that you get a better turn. So I don't know how they. I mean, I'll hopefully it'll flush it out here in the future when I'm watching more videos. But it would make more sense for a street car to have the engine in the front of the car to weigh it down for the turning of the tires. I apologize if I'm stopping the video too much here. I tried to make a earlier video and I got copyright struck. And I'm gonna argue that it's fair use, but you can agree or disagree with me. I'm just trying to put eyes. I'm trying to learn the sport and put eyes on the sport. If the copyright strike doesn't go through, I may or may not just stop making F1 videos. But I mean, I would like to stick with this. But if there's no way I can get these videos through, then I'm gonna have to just stop making them.
And after Maurice Trintignant finished 11th in the British Grand Prix. Porsche enjoyed success as a works team and later as builder of the tag-badged turbo engines that powered McLaren to World Championship success in the mid-1980s. But its most recent F1 foray was a disastrous alliance with the Footwork team that lasted just 6 races in 19.
I know Porsche is a very popular sports car here in the United States as well. Definitely a high-end sports car here. But I know Porsche was trying to get in bed with or try to buy part ownership in Red Bull, and as far as I know, that deal hasn't got through. There's been crazier things that have happened, so I'm not going to put a nail in the coffin yet for that deal, but it seems unlikely.
1991. Team owner Wataru Ohashi had just bought Arrows and renamed it after the Footwork Express Logistics Company, and he stumped up the cash to pay for what was intended to be a 4-year Porsche deal. But the V12 Porsche 3512 engine, which was rooted in the technology of the old V6 turbo, was overweight and underpowered, falling far short of the performance that Porsche had a contractual obligation to deliver. A Footwork Porsche never made the checkered flag, with its biggest impact coming in practice at Monaco when Alex Caffey crashed at the swimming pool.
So the car actually never finished the race. It never went to the checkered flag. I don't know if that means it never won or it never finished a race.
And the engine parted company from the chassis. This arrangement soon became permanent, with Footwork avoiding losing money thanks to Porsche failing to deliver on its agreed engineering targets. Subaru is famous in motorsport for its rallying success, but it's often forgotten that the Japanese manufacturer...
Yeah, that's definitely what we know Subaru from here is... I mean, I see some older Subaru cars driving around. I don't really so much see any new ones, but they are known for rally cars.
Also had a crack at Formula One. After an initial attempt to team up with Minardi fell through, Subaru bought 51% of the Minnow Coloni team, which had been struggling even to qualify for races, ahead of the 1990 season and gave it work status. Equipped with the heavy, unreliable and gutless flat 12 Subaru engine designed by Carlo Chiti's Motori Moderni, Coloni started the season with the engine shoehorned into a B-spec of its 1989 chassis. With just a brief shakedown at Firebird Speedway, ahead of the season-opening United States Grand Prix at Phoenix, the car proved woefully uncompetitive, although work was progressing on a new V12 engine that was intended to be introduced mid-season. Bertrand Gachot failed to pre-qualify its sole entry for the first 8 races of 1990 before Subaru parent company Fuji Heavy Industry announced enough was enough and pulled out, citing different views, before that new engine could ever be introduced. And
yeah, that's a huge commitment to design a specific engine just for one thing. And congratulations to the companies who do it. I know Honda makes engines just specifically for Red Bull. They're not even a part of F1 racing as current, other than to provide engines for Red Bull, and I'm sure they get paid a pretty penny to do so.
Though Coloni regained full control of the team, which struggled on to the end of 1991. From 2002 to 2009, Toyota spent a vast sum of money, but despite taking...
Toyota has made its mark here in the United States through NASCAR. So Toyota still are in NASCAR. So that's a pretty common car around. Honda, Toyota, same kind of boat. Probably not quite as popular as a Ford and a Chevy, but they're up there.
3 pole positions and 13 podium finishes in 139 races, it never won a Grand Prix. The scale of its failure.
I will say this: I am a veteran, and when you're in Afghanistan and in Iraq, the old pickup trucks that they're driving around are Toyotas, so they are all over the world.
Given its level of investment and the expectations for what was becoming the biggest car manufacturer in the world, earns Toyota its #1 ranking. Toyota never entirely embraced the culture required to succeed in F1. It wanted to thrive by applying the Toyota way, a corporate philosophy well tuned to its automotive core, but not the fast-moving F1 world. Toyota underestimated F1 from the start, in terms of its complexity, the rapidly growing aerodynamic detail of the cars, and the need for very strong technical leadership. Too often, drivers were blamed for its shortcomings, while corporate decisions, such...
Yeah, they didn't put much. They were just like, oh, we're just going to put a Toyota in here, and they didn't really have any idea what that really meant. The amount of money and intricacies in these F1 cars are off the chains compared to probably most other racing cars around the world.
Just forcing a switch from Michelin to Bridgestone rubber against the wishes of the team in 2006 interrupted the momentum it did build. Toyota came close to winning but never did, perhaps most famously failing after a bad tyre choice cost it after running first and second in the 2009 Bahrain Grand Prix. But perhaps Spa 2009 was the bigger opportunity missed, with Jarno Trulli fastest fuel corrected in qualifying, but suffering an electrical problem that slowed his start, then getting front wing damage in turn 1. Toyota walked away at the end of 2009.
When you have those very close finishes, you're like right there and it's just like an inch away. Those kind of defeats are far more crushing than if you were like a middle of the pack guy and you lost second place, you lost third place or fourth place, or even second place or third place. When you are almost there at the top and then you just miss it by an inch, those really hurt. And they're hard to recover from.
A victim of the global economic crisis and its own failure. Have we missed anyone? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, you heard the man. Give links in the description. Give them a like and a subscribe. If you like my video, you like my content, go ahead and give me a like and a subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much.